The most common question which I get from you guys is how to move to any country without a job offer. So today I'm going to cover Canada because within Canada, there are so many different pathways where you can move without a job offer. But I'm not an expert in that. That's why I have invited Shafoli, who is a regulated Canadian immigration solicitor, and she's going to talk about different pathways, how you can move to Canada without a job offer. So without any further delay, let me invite Shafoli now. Hi Shafoli, welcome to Your Knowledge Buddy once again.
Thank you so much, Sarika. Thank you again for having me on your show. It's always a pleasure to be here. So for all the viewers, my name is Shefali Kapoor. I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. In simple words, I'm licensed to practice Canadian immigration. I am based in Toronto, Ontario, in Canada, and the name of my business is T. Immigration Services.
And pleasure for my audience because they're loving the content that you share with them. So on a special request and demand from people, most of my audience wants to know from you how to move to Canada without a job offer, because the most difficulty that they face now is finding a job. And hence they want to find not a shortcut, but they want to understand what are the different ways they can move to Canada without a job offer.
Yes, it is hard to move to Canada without a job offer, but it is not impossible. Mm-hmm. There are options available. But yeah, I mean, of course, now Canada is at a point where I'm going to be very raw in my conversations. It's the survival of the fittest now. Mm-hmm. We have to understand that Canada cannot bring the whole world to Canada, right? They can only bring people, a limited number of people. They have their allocation limits set up for every year. For example, like for this year, let's say it's 465,000 people. So they only have a certain limit that they can bring. But we know there's a lot of demand for Canada outside. Like people want to come here from outside Canada. Mm-hmm. So it's about survival of the fittest now. Canada has now established that there are certain occupations in Canada that are in priority. There are labor market shortages in those occupations, and they want people only in those. Maybe only is too aggressive word to use, but they want majority people to come in those occupations, and then whatever left they have, they can bring from other categories and other occupations as well. Now, how are people going to immigrate to Canada or move to Canada without a job offer? Mm-hmm. So there are two ways. Either it is temporary residence that you can come to Canada on, or permanent residence. Mm-hmm. Talking about temporary residence, you can come here as a visitor. And when I say you can come here as a visitor is, you apply for a visitor visa. If you get it, then you can come here. And once you're in Canada, then you can look for an employer. Yes. Obviously, when you're inside Canada, it's easier to find a job, right? As compared to when you're outside Canada and you're only applying online. Here, if you actually do some walk-ins or you meet some temporary, foreign worker recruitment agencies or, manpower agencies, then, there is an option that you might find a job and there might be an employer who's actually looking for an employee and they can sponsor you. That's one way. The other way is to come here as a student. Of course, it's such a long process. A lot of people think, we'll go as a student, then we'll study, then we'll apply for a work permit, then we'll get up here. That's a long process. But sometimes there's no other option, right? So instead of paying somebody $30,000, $40,000 to do a work permit for you, which is illegal, why not spend that $30,000, $40,000 on enhancing your skills and your education, study, and go the right route? Another benefit of coming here as a study, especially for couples, is that if you're married, one person can come here on study and the other partner can come on a work permit, and then the other person can work. And it's not that only the person who comes here originally can only apply for PR and the other person forever remains a dependent. No, if your spouse is coming on a student visa and you think that after 1 year of experience, the partner is eligible to apply for PR, they can be the principal applicant and you can be a dependent on their application. Yeah. Possible, right? So instead of doing a 5-year cycle, you can actually even do it in a year, but at least that's foot in the door kind of a situation. Yeah. So those are two programs that you can come here on temporary residence without a job offer. Mm-hmm. Third option is, again, like I said, clubbed with the first option. If you get married to somebody who's here in Canada on a student visa or a work visa or PR or Canadian citizen, they can sponsor you to come to Canada. If they're a student or worker, they can sponsor you to come on a work permit. And if they're PR or Canadian citizen, they can directly sponsor you for permanent residence. You don't need a job offer in those cases. So those are straightforward processes.
Mhm.
Now let's talk about economic immigration. How are people going to move to Canada on their own merit?
Yeah.
Express entry, one of the most popular programs since 2015, but we've seen a lot of changes in that now. So express entry always used to be a program where you did not need a job offer, just on the basis of your age, education, experience in a skilled occupation. If you have any family siblings living in Canada who are permanent residents, language proficiency of English and French, you could apply for permanent residence in Canada based on your CRS code. Lately, Canadian government has done occupation-specific draws, where if you're working in certain industries, you can come to Canada. They will give priority to you, and there will be NOC-specific draws. And if you have 6 months of experience working in any of those categories, occupations, then you can directly apply for permanent residence in Canada. You will get an invitation. So express entry is one way of doing it. We can obviously elaborate that maybe in another, in another video, because it's a long topic of discussion. That's one way of coming to Canada. The second economic program that people can consider is PNP programs. What is a PNP? It's a provincial nominee program. So every province in Canada has an agreement with the federal government that grants the PNP, the province, to nominate people to apply for permanent residence in Canada. It's a two-step process. First, you apply for the nomination. Once you get approved, then you apply for PR. Now, that PR could be applied through express entry or non-express entry streams. Again, a long topic of discussion, which we can do on another video. But what are the programs, right? So first, we can talk about Ontario. So Ontario has two programs, the Human Capital Priority Stream and the French Speaker Stream. Both of these streams lately have been sending invitations to people under specific NOC categories only. The trade stream and the IT sector and the healthcare sector are big. Are topping the charts with Ontario. So if you have experience in one of these sectors, there is a very high chance that Ontario might send you an invitation through the express entry. So it's very important for you to have an express entry profile for that. And this is what I tell all my clients. Anybody who wants to come to Canada at any point in time, create your express entry profile. You never know how things can change. So if you want to come to Canada and you are eligible to apply for express entry, create your profile. Don't wait, regardless of what your score is. As long as you're eligible, create it. So Ontario can send you an invitation in the express entry stream called as a notification of interest if they find you as somebody that they want to nominate you. If you get that notification of interest, you apply to the province, they approve you, give you 600 points, and then you apply for permanent residence in Canada through express entry. Now, remember, when you apply to the OINP, so if you get that notification of interest, you make a separate application to Ontario. That will take additional time. That is about 3 to 6 months to get that approval, and then you get the PR. And this is only based on your experience in whatever occupation you showed in your express entry profile. It's not on a job offer. Then another province that does the same thing is Nova Scotia under their labor market priority stream. They also determine occupations that are in priority for them. I've seen people in financial services getting invitations, healthcare getting invitations, IT sector getting invitations, childcare. So people like early childhood educators getting an invitation. Again, if you get a notification of interest in your express entry profile, you apply to the province and you get permanent residence through express entry. Now, Ontario and Nova Scotia's programs are programs that you can't apply to. You can only apply if you get a notification of interest. And if you don't get a notification of interest, you just wait. Another province that does that is Alberta. Again, based on your ties to Alberta, if you have relatives living there, or if you have a job offer from Alberta, if you have past education in Alberta, or if you have an experience in an occupation that Alberta prefers, then you can also get a notification of interest directly into your express entry profile. Then you apply to Alberta, get the approval, and then apply for permanent residence again through express entry. So these are the provinces that you can't apply to. If you get a notification of interest, then you apply. Okay. Then there are provinces where you have to submit an expression of interest. A very popular province with people outside Canada is Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan is big on inviting people from outside Canada. But what you have to do is first you create your express entry profile, and then if you get, and then you create an expression of interest on Saskatchewan's portal, the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Programs portal. You could either apply under the occupation and demand category or express entry stream based on your eligibility. And then whenever they conduct a draw, if you get invited, then you apply to Saskatchewan, you get the nomination, and then you apply for permanent residence, depending on which stream you applied under.
Right.
That's Saskatchewan. So remember, you have to apply to Saskatchewan. If you don't apply, you're not going to get an invitation.
Right.
And then another province that you create an expression of interest is Prince Edward Island. Again, if you don't create it on their website, you will not get an invitation. So you first create an expression of interest. If you get the invitation, then you apply to them, and then finally apply for permanent residence through express entry. It's the express entry stream. So those are the only programs that you can apply for permanent residence in Canada without a job offer. Actually, there's another program in Newfoundland, but you know what? That's a program that's been up in the air. I've never applied for anybody. It's a very high-tech program. It's called a priority skill program. They give priority to people. There's certain occupations that are highly in demand, and they're very high-skilled occupations. If you have experience in that occupation, you can create an expression of interest and they can send you an invitation. They also invite people who have PhDs or master's degrees to apply to them. But again, the quotas, the allocation limits are very low. I have never done anybody in that stream. In fact, I was trying for one of my clients, and before I could even submit an expression of interest, that program was closed.
Right.
That is a program for the highly educated to explore if you want to explore that option. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a very, very popular program. But that option is available. And that's it. Those are the programs that you can come to Canada without a job offer.
And you blow my mind with all the information and wealth of knowledge that you have, Shafali. And I believe this is going to help all my audience who had been asking me all those questions. And of course, I was not knowledgeable as you are. So thank you very much for coming and spending time and sharing your knowledge here. And for the guys who want to get in touch with Shafali, her details will be mentioned in the pinned comment and description as well. Please go and get in touch and get started with your Canada journey. Thank you very much.
Very welcome.
Thank you, Shafali. Bye.